Hey, hey, hey. So my name is Mac or Macaroni, depending on where you're finding me on the internet. But today I'm gonna talk about my studio art experience in college. Um, and why a teacher told me to drop out. So just to give a little bit of background of what I'm doing in the background, I'm redesigning an old character of mine from high school. She's supposed to be this uh Greek lady who was cursed forever to roam the earth. And she's immortal, and so she's cursed and has to hide it because she doesn't want anyone to know she's cursed, and she's trying to like just stay out of trouble and straight stay out of eyesight, and not become a government experiment, especially in the modern age. And so here I am just redesigning her and getting rid of that ugly galaxy print on her skin because I should have been shot for that as a 14, 15-year old. But anyways, so yeah, so I am a mom and I love being a mom. And I want to preface this all by saying I do not regret being a mom. However, being a mom is hard, especially in college. So I decided, because I graduated during COVID, not to go to school temporarily. And life happened. I ended up having a kid. And so I went back to college with her. And at this point, she was 7 months. She was 7 months old. Uh, 7 to 8 months old. So she was still pretty young. And I decided to go back to college. I was like, oh, I'm gonna do the studio art program at this local college. Like, it's gonna be so fun. And it was no spoiler alert, it was awful. I had done like AP art in the high school, IB art, which is International Baccalaureate Visual Arts. Like, I loved it. I had my own portfolios. Like, I improved a lot in my last 2 years of high school. And I felt like this is what I wanted to do with my life. So I decided that I would do such a thing, and I signed up for all these art classes. And each art class, by the way, was 2 hours long, which I was fine with. But I only could do two a day. So I had two a day, and it was on like an A schedule, B schedule. So your Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Tuesday, Thursday, except there were no Friday classes. It was kind of weird. But I get there and I felt like I was in the beginning of high school again. Uh, the art classes were extremely basic. And this isn't to hate on anyone who, needs those basics. But I, at the time, didn't feel like I was one of those people. Um, Especially because there was no way to challenge those of us who were past the very, very rudimentary basics. Like, Um, it felt like I was taking elective art classes, if that makes sense, rather than like major art classes. Mostly because it was like, oh, here's a program for the first time, or what? I feel like that's unfair. Maybe I'm being rude, but I just felt like I was not being pushed or challenged at all, and coming from like critiques and stuff that were very much about improving, and then all of a sudden my critiques were, oh, that's great, we like this. It hurt. I felt like I wasn't going anywhere, um and that sucked. And in fact, I heard from someone else in one of my other classes that I was harsh. I didn't feel like I was harsh. I was just very much design principles. I had studied it. I had spent a lot of time on like YouTube and online and figuring out and teaching myself. Um, and then it felt like some of the people just weren't listening to the professor when they did talk about, all these art principles and stuff like that. And it'd be like I'd point things out, such as like the border not having is example graphic design. You're supposed to leave like an even border around for printing purposes, and people would like overlap that border and stuff, and it was very much not on purpose. You can just tell they just weren't paying attention, or some of the things were very gaudy and not in a "I'm gaudy on purpose" way, but a gaudy like, they just hadn't listened, and it's disappointing whenever you love something so much to see people not take it seriously, and so my critiques sometimes reflected that, and I do admit that I probably could have been nicer, but that was the type of critique I was used to from high school, because that's how my high school teacher very much was. He was very harsh on what he thought needed to be improved, and it was never on the art style itself necessarily, but very much of, like, art principles and hatching and what can be improved and how to improve your own style. So it wasn't a style issue, it was more of a composition and stuff like that. So that's what I thought that it was supposed to be like. Um, and turns out not a lot of people respond well to that. And although I should have accounted for that. And so I earned kind of a reputation for being a little bit harsh. I know he called me a bitch or anything like that, like, it wasn't that. But anyways, I'm kinda rambling. So, this was all of my art classes, that was experience, but I had a child, and if you know anything about children and being in daycare for the first time, they tend to get sick a lot for the first, like, year or so. And so she was being sent home. And mind you, this program had a super strict attendance policy. Like you miss two classes, and even if you have you they drop you they start dropping your letter grade. Uh, and that was awful. So fast forward, I ended up taking a writing and art class, which I also hated, but not because I don't dislike writing about art. I love talking and writing about art and analyzing like what makes an art piece good. Um, but because I felt more like a here's how to write in general rather than how to write specifically about art. Like we talked about things like theses, how to write a basic thesis, how to write, a four sentence paragraph. And then we would never write a full essay. It was always just like part of an essay. And again, like I'm someone who likes to be challenged, and I just was not being challenged. So I was super not depressed, but not excited to go to class. But that being said, I was like, okay, well, I am gonna still try my best. And sure enough, I was doing really well. I had like a 90 something. I don't remember the exact grade now, but almost through the entire semester, like there was only like a month left of class. She decided to do reviews on everyone. And so she'd pull you aside, do a review, talk to you about like how you're doing, what you can improve on. And I was so excited. I was like, okay, finally a chance to be told like where I can improve and I can fix it or I can do better. And that's not what she said to me at all. She sat me down and asked if I had any support at home. And like, I'm not gonna get about it in YouTube, but at the time, not really. Um, and I was the primary caretaker of my daughter, and so I was like, okay, not really, but that happens. Like, it's the case for a lot of people. This isn't a unique experience. And she told me very plain terms that I needed to drop out until I could find that support or my daughter was old enough to be in school. And I remember just sitting there looking at her, and I felt like my whole world was crushed. I was so upset. I didn't even know how to react. And I sat there and I thought about it. Like all my absences had been excused because except for one, because they were doctor's notes. I wasn't missing my assignments. I was doing everything on time, and I was just like, why would you say that to me? Um, But, she did, and so I looked into it, and I was like, "I need to talk to the dean because I didn't feel like this was appropriate." So I went and talked to the dean of the or I don't even think it was the dean, I think it was just, like, the administrative people, and she told me that 'Cause it was mostly female professors. She told me that this is why you didn't see football players in the art department, because they would not be able to maintain the attendance policy with the football schedule, because the football schedule would require them to miss classes. And I was like, "That's fucked up." Um, because those would count as excused absences, and as long as they were coming in and making them up or doing the assignments still, I didn't see the problem. Um, because in the real world, like, you're gonna miss stuff, like, that's why you have to adjust. And but that wasn't an option. So I looked more into it, and I saw that someone told me that it could be a potential Title IX issue. And so I went to talk to them, and they told me basically that that only covered pregnant women, not mothers, which is crazy. It's like you're protecting a pregnant lady from discrimination, but the moment their child is born, they don't matter anymore. And that's truly what it felt like to me. Um, it broke my heart. And honestly, after that, I did switch my major because I didn't feel like I was being pushed. I got told that I wasn't uh, able to do it just because I had a child. And in reality, I'd only missed a couple of classes. And even though they were excused, it just didn't matter to them. So I gave up. And now sitting here, and my daughter is now 2, I still want to do art. I still want to move forward. And so I'm currently debating on going back to school, not to that school, going back to school to be an art teacher. Because then I could definitely work while my child is in class, have the same kind of schedule as she does, like a school schedule. Um, at least by the time I finish college. And then, or two, like content creation or doing like conventions and stuff, because I've done conventions in the past and I really enjoyed them. Um, back when I was under Maccabee instead of the macaroni. Then also before I had a daughter and all this other stuff. So I always thought that could be a great option too. But I I or a mixture of both, I could really do both right now. I think for now I'm gonna go back to art school, not art school, go back to school for a art teacher degree at a different college, especially how that I do have a little bit some more, and I will have some more support in the coming up future. Um, because yeah, uh, I just like want the best for everybody and everything. And hopefully, like, this is the right step forward. I've been pushing myself to try to make more content in general. I know I've been doing commissions a few times here and there with MS Paint, and of course it's like $10 here and there, but $10 is $10 if you know what I mean. Uh, but yeah, so I've been seeing a lot of videos lately on like why art school isn't as popular or needed anymore, and it's really driving me with a lot of hope. So I'm really hoping that this will be a right step for me. But yeah, I hope to see what I can do in the future. But yeah, thank you. Uh, thank you for watching. Sorry this is a little long. But yeah, a little bit about what I did here in the background. So I went into mine thinking about like, oh, like she's supposed to be hidden. I also was thinking about the silhouette and flowiness of like ancient Greek clothes, which is what you see kind of in this loose cloak, while also trying to stay more modern with the tighter fit. Um, something that's more flexible to easily move around in rather than like a skirt that could get blown up or something like that. Not blown up, but like ill-timed wind would mess it all up. I also put her hair down so it would cover her neck and stuff more, and I figured that these markings would be more of a, like, scar tissue sort of deal. But that's just like my basic redesign. I'll probably try to do an illustration here or there with her in the future, but thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I also hope that you guys are not like me. And if someone tells you to drop out, don't prove them wrong. Um, I'll prove them wrong one day. But yeah, thank you so much again. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe.